There's been a lot of chatter going on about the United States of America possibly going back into Afghanistan.
We were going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing.
But of course, with that, we're going to be facing a whole new enemy. I'm not a fan of that at all. The Pentagon is going after drug smugglers trying to breach the borders of the United States with drugs. Should the Pentagon be focused on this? Because at the end of the day, the Pentagon is juggling multiple fires right now. We're going to look at the rise of AI in the military, in special operation. Not every leap in military history is good. What do you think our adversaries are going to do? Do you think they're just going to sit back and let us do whatever we want? So here's the bottom line, guys. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Green Beret Chronicles show. Today, we're going to discuss a variety of topics to include the United States possibly, allegedly, going back to Afghanistan and trying to take over Bagram Air Force Base back. Right after we turned it over a couple of years back, after we left a bunch of equipment a couple of years back, after we tried to destroy that base a couple of years back. So we'll share with you what President Trump has to say, and then I'll give you guys my 2 cents as somebody that spent a decent amount of time on Bagram Air Force Base. And then we're going to look at the rise of AI, the rise of artificial intelligence in the military, in special operation, and how that is affecting things. And then we're going to talk about Latin America. There's some very interesting things going on down there that we'll cover, mainly the drug issue that's going on and that's destroying our country. Give you guys my 2 cents and also share with you guys the latest and greatest. And then towards the back end, we're going to cover some polls, right? Some polls that I've been discussing on the post section of my channel. You guys are commenting, you guys are voting. I'm loving it. I'll give you guys my answers, right? Because I feel like I post these polls, you guys answer, but you don't know which one I'm choosing or what I'm thinking or the reason why I'm asking you guys a certain question. So I'll go through some of them, share my insight with you, and then we'll go from there. If this is your first time watching me, guys, my name is Jay. I'm a retired U.S. Army Green Beret, and the intent behind this specific channel is to coach, teach, and mentor the next generation of aspiring Special Forces soldiers and also make you as a person a better man, right? So if you get any value out of this, like, subscribe, right? Let me know what you want to see next. With all that said, let's jump into the first topic, right? This segment is brought to you by the Dark Arts Coffee Company. Fascinated by the covert world of special operation, I decided once I retired to go visit some of the places that I only used to read about in the intelligence report. And while traveling these places, I noticed one common theme. Coffee. It's everywhere. You have the coffee shops. You have the coffee farms. So what I decided to do was capture all that data, capture all that raw footage. And I compiled it all on a QR code in the back of this coffee bag. And I want to share it all with you, right? The tasting of the coffee farm, the places where intel operative drink coffee while they're out there doing work. All of it captured right here on the back of this coffee. And right now, guys, every bag of coffee sold, 10% of the proceeds will go to the Dark Arts Coffee Foundation, a foundation that I founded geared towards helping house homeless vet. As a vet myself, I know what it's like serving this great country. And I don't think any vet should go without a place they can call their own. So we're providing rental support and we're providing mortgage support. If you know anybody looking for support, darkartscoffee.org. If you want to support, darkartscoffeeco.com. to help the mission. I appreciate you guys. Let's get back to the episode. There's been a lot of chatter going on about the United States of America possibly going back into Afghanistan and taking back Bagram Air Force Base. That's a thing. That's a strong possibility that we might be doing that. But of course, with that, we're going to be facing a whole new enemy with a whole new challenge. Listen to what President Trump had to say.
We were going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
Right. So if you're not familiar with Bagram Air Force Base, commonly known within the military as BAF, B-A-F, short acronym for Bagram Airfield, Bagram or Bath was established by the Soviet Union, by Russia in the early 1950s during the Cold War. Then it was enhanced and expanded during the 1980s while Russia was fighting in Afghanistan. And then after 9/11, when we invaded Afghanistan, we had a bunch of Rangers jumped into Bath, all right, Bagram, and they secured that airfield. It was a strategic location for us. And of course, at the beginning of the war, as a country, as a military, we want to secure all the strategic locations. And Bath was one of the main ones, right? So since we took it over in 2001, guys, I have pictures of what this thing used to look like compared to what it looked like right before I left Afghanistan for the last time. It was like a freaking city. It was like a mini city, right? I'm talking about miles and miles of structure. And you know how it is. Wherever America goes, the fun follows, right? And when I say the fun follows, I'm talking about they had nightclubs there. They had pizza shop. They had restaurants. It was outrageous. You go to Bagram and you would never think that you're in a war zone. It was out of hand. Now, I first got to Bagram in 2010, my first deployment as a new guy to Special Forces, right? I went into Bagram and I worked at the BDOC Camp Vance for approximately 6 or so months before I went to CAF, another airfield, to link up with my ODA downrange. Guys, while I was on Bagram, again, like I mentioned, it was party city, right? You had all sorts of craziness going on over there. And what Bagram is pretty much a big logistical hub, right? It's a logistical hub where you have all sorts of equipment coming into country. And from there, they get pushed out to all the different outposts, to all the different locations within Afghanistan. It's a very strategic place, right? Now, granted, you still had a bunch of units stationed there that were operational, but for the most part, guys, it's an air base, right? It's an airfield ran by Air Force. And on there, like I said, you had Camp Vance, which was where CJ Sodif was, which was Combined Joint Special Operation Task Force, pretty much the headquarters that was in charge of all the special operation units in country. Their headquarters was there. Then you had Sodif East, Camp Montron. Then you also had all the international units headquarters there too. You had the Polsov, you had Kuwaitis, you had everybody that you could think of, their headquarters, or they had some type of element on Bagram. So when President Trump says it's a important location, a strategic location, he's not lying. Bagram Airfield is located in a very, very key part of Afghanistan, which is why the Russian built it there to begin with, right? Now, granted, the big question or the big elephant in the room is, well, hell, man, if it was so important, why did we give it up? Guys, who knows? Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's several other airfields within Afghanistan, right? I've been fortunate enough to have been in all three of them. So Bagram Airfield was the first one that I flew into. And that's, for the most part, everyone coming into country, for the most part, as for special operations, they have to go through Bath at some point, even coming into country, right? Fact check me on that. Let me know in the comment section if you ever flew straight into one of these other places. But I'm pretty sure everybody coming into country have to go through Bath before they can go to wherever they're going to go, because that's where finance is. That's where literally everything is, right? So you go through Bath. That's the biggest one. Then you have CAF. CAF is Kandahar Airfield, right? It's down south in Kandahar. And of course, you have JAF, right? JAF, Jalalabad Airfield. I've also served there also. That's on the eastern side of Afghanistan, right? So you have Bath, CAF, and then you have JAF, right? I've served in all of them, guys. And I can tell you right now, there's a common theme. Party city, awesome place, bunch of headquarters, very strategic locations for all of them, right? But Bath is definitely the more important one, which is why President Trump wants it back, which is why he's going after it. Now, I'm a big fan of history, guys, and I'm a firm believer that if you don't study history, if you don't see what works, you're doomed to repeat those mistakes. If you look at Vietnam, how we pulled out of Vietnam and what happened in Vietnam after we left, you can I guess, relate that to Afghanistan. A lot of Vietnam vets are saying that Afghanistan is our version of Vietnam. And I agree with them, right? Because if you think about it, Vietnam, when we pulled out of there, we didn't hold any territory. We essentially just gave the country back to the very enemy that we were fighting. Afghanistan, we did the same thing, right? We essentially fought for 20 plus years, fought 20 different conflict, right? Because every year I felt that the meaning of winning changed, right? So after 20 years, we essentially gave the country back to the Taliban, right? And if you look at what we've done in the past, that's been pretty successful. World War One, what happened, right? We went in, we kicked butt, we held territory. World War II, we did the same thing. We went in, we kicked butt, we held territory. Hell, till this day, we're still in some of those countries. You look at Germany, we're still there. We look at Japan, we're still there. We have a present there, right? We should have done the same thing with Vietnam, right? We should have held territory, built a base there, right? And we should have done the same thing with Afghanistan. We should have held territory, at least the airfields. We should have held on to CAF. We should have held on to BAF. We should have held on to JAF. And I have a feeling that's what President Trump is trying to do now, right? He's trying to go back in and reclaim that territory. However, we're going to be facing a different monster, right? We're going to be fighting an uphill battle. 2015, we started to shut everything down. We started to shut Afghanistan down, right? They made us close our fob, right? And then we went to Shank. And we destroyed that place, right? Because we didn't want to leave anything behind for the enemy. So we stripped that base, we burned everything, we destroyed everything, and then we left. And then they changed their mind and they sent us back to that same location. I didn't go on that trip because I was already at SWIC. But when my old teammates got there, they said the base was 10 times as worse as it was when we left it. I'm talking about there was shit everywhere, like literally feces. Like the dudes went in and they shit in every room and they destroyed that place. And it was horrendous, right? I can only imagine what BAF is going to look like when we go back over there and try to take it over, right? Because you got to think about it. When we left, we destroyed a lot of things, right? And then granted, we left some equipment behind, but for the most part, everything that we put down was for structured. From what I understand, we destroyed a lot of it, right? And now we are wanting to go back and spend a bunch of money again to rebuild that place. Man, I understand the strategic reasoning for wanting to go back and taking it over. I just don't know if we're ready to spend all that money again, right? And based on my experience, guys, everywhere that the military is, everywhere that the United States is, there is a relationship with the host nation. You know, I don't know how the Vietnam era guys feel about what Vietnam is now and our government essentially working with the Vietnamese government, the same guys that they were fighting back in the days. I don't know how they feel, but I can honestly say I probably wouldn't like the fact that we are working with the Taliban. If we decide to push forward with this plan and go back into Afghanistan, we now have to befriend the Taliban government and essentially come up with an agreement that makes sense to where, hey, we are a guest in your country, because we can't go in there and take it by force anymore, right? If you look at what we've done across the world and places that we've fought and held territory, we are buddy buddies with Japan, right? First group goes over there. They train down in Okinawa. They train with the Japanese soldiers. Like, we have a good relationship with them. Same thing with Germany. 10th group is over there all the time, training with their military, etc., etc. Now, if we want to go into Afghanistan and be on these airfields, whether it's BAF, CAF, or JAF, we have to essentially recognize the Taliban government, and we have to make an agreement with them that says, hey, we, the United States, are a guest in your country. We're going to be at these airfields, and as a return, this is what we're going to give you back. If we don't do it like that and we go in as a hostile force, guess what? We're going to be fighting the Taliban all over again. Because I can tell you right now, based on the ideology of those guys, there's a really good book out there called The Afghan Campaign. If you guys haven't read it, make sure you go check it out. The Afghan Campaign, I think the author's last name is Pressfield, It pretty much talks about the land of Afghanistan and all the different campaigns that it's been through, starting with like Alexander the Great and everyone else that came before him. Alexander the Great, the Soviet Union, and now us. No one has ever conquered that land. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, right? So if we go in there as conquerors again, we're going to have to fight. And we don't want that. So what does a relationship with the Taliban look like? Is it, hey, like we've done in other countries, to include like in places that I've been that we've done FID? Is it, hey, we're coming over here, we're going to work with you, we're going to train the Taliban soldiers now, right? And as a return, you're going to let us hang out here because we're worried about China and nuclear weapon, etc. Is that what that's going to look like? And how are the vets going to feel about that? The Afghan vets, right? The guys that fought in Afghanistan. Let me know, guys. How would you feel about that, right? The same guys that, killed your buddies at war. Now you're going back and you're training those very same guys on tactics, on how to move, shoot, communicate. I'm not a fan of that at all, right? That's just my personal feelings about that. Eager to hear what you guys think about this. Put it in the comment section below, guys. Us going back into Afghanistan and possibly becoming, I guess, tenants over at Bagram Air Force base, right? Bagram Airfield, working shoulder to shoulder with the Taliban and essentially befriending that government, right? But yeah, share your thoughts in the comments, right? Let's check out this next topic. So the Pentagon is going after drug smugglers trying to breach the borders of the United States with drugs. Take a look at this video as far as what the Coast Guard has been doing. So this is some pretty crazy stuff, guys. It looks like President Donald Trump and the administration is not playing around. But some folks in the Pentagon are saying we're spreading ourselves too thin. Do you think that's the case? Do you think we are spreading ourselves too thin and trying to fight all these different wars? At the end of the day, me personally, guys, if that's the mission, we find a way to do it. Because at the end of the day, we're known for making things happen with little to no resources. And with our firepower and our military might, I don't think it's going to be an issue at all, right? But in this segment, guys, we're going to look at the facts, right? We're going to check out history, what it's told us about this whole narco trafficking war. Because again, this isn't the first time we've come down this road. And I'm going to let you know, based on my experience, how I think this is going to pan out. All right, first, let's talk about what the mission is. What does the mission look like on paper? Guys, the U.S. military, particularly Southern Command, has long been tasked with counter narcotics. If you look at 7 Group, that was their bread and butter. This has been going on within the Caribbean and also Latin America, right? Guys, what does that mean? That means spotting and stopping everything from narco subs, which are basically mini submarines, from breaching the borders of the United States. Not only are they tasked with finding and stopping these small subs, they are also tasked with locating, chasing down small boats loaded with cocaine. You'll often see the Coast Guard out front in these interdictions, just like I just showed you guys in the video. But make no mistake, guys, behind them is intelligence, surveillance, and even special operations, right? We are backing them up to make sure they have everything they need. In addition, you have drones, you have satellites, right? And then you have the human aspect of it as far as networking. These guys have an entire package to make sure they have everything they need so they can go do work. In my personal opinion, on paper, it's a clean mission, right? Simple. Stop drugs before they hit the United States. But in reality, it's a chess match, guys. With the cartel, they have billions and billions of dollars to innovate, to bribe, and essentially to fight back and push back on the United States. So why the Pentagon is so concerned, right? Let's talk about that next. Why the concern? Like, Should the Pentagon be focused on this? Because at the end of the day, the Pentagon is juggling multiple fires right now. Europe with Russia, right? They have that going on. Then you have the Middle East with Iran and its proxies. Then you have Asia with China pushing into the South China Sea, right? And then, of course, you have Taiwan that we need to worry about. And now we add Latin America with this fight against the cartel and drugs. Guys, are we doing too much? Should we be fighting this fight? Because at the end of the day, you got to keep in mind, every asset sent south is an asset that isn't available elsewhere. Every special forces operator team pulled for the counter drug mission is one less team training for a high-end fight or engage in a high-end fight in the Middle East and elsewhere. Is that a good use of our essentially assets right now? And at the end of the day, when you start stretching forces across every theater, you run into burnout. You run into overextension. And the danger of doing that is now you're performing a bunch of different things at the mediocre level instead of exceeding at just a couple of things. That's the Pentagon's fear. Not that the counter drug mission isn't important, but can somebody else handle it? Are we spreading ourselves? Should we be focused on China? Should we focus on Russia, right? Instead of worrying about what's going on in Latin America. Because again, guys, here's some raw feedback for you. When it comes to this fight with Latin America, with Mexico, with Venezuela, with all these different places, at the end of the day, I understand why it's going down, right? We are at a point in our nation's history where kids are dying from overdoses, from drugs, from all this different stuff. I understand that. However, everything that I'm seeing, to include that video that I showed you guys earlier with the raids taking place on the boats and them shooting up and burning up, guys, that's all theatrics, right? Let's cut through all the crap. That's all theatrics, nothing. And again, as much as it pains me to say this, and I would think that the leaders that are currently up there understand this also, nothing is going to change, guys, because at the end of the day, the guys that they're capturing, the guys that they're killing, the guys that they're blowing up, they're not decision makers. They are not the ones that are choosing to come to the United States by covert or uncovert means. They are not the ones making decisions. They are not the one bribing. They are not the one funneling. They are nobodies, guys. They're just runners. Just think about it. You have some guy in Venezuela that's trying to make a living for his family, and someone approaches him with a bag full of cash and tells him, hey, I want you to drive this boat to Miami, and once you get there, I want you to offload this package. That's it. That's who we are bombing. That's who we're interdicting, right? The true corruption is in the government. It's in the banking system, right? You'll never see those guys. Unfortunately, you won't. We've been here before. We've watched this show before. We've heard this story before. And at the end of the day, 2025, here we are again. So I'll ask you this question again. Is this a good use of our resources? Should we allocate it elsewhere? Should we be fighting another fight? Because until we take care of the problem here back home, all we're doing is spending a shit ton of money, essentially throwing away expensive bombs, right? Pulling special forces operators and allocating them towards a cause that's not going to change. That's what we're doing. That's my opinion. You let me know what you guys think. Is this a good use of our resources? Should we be allocating it somewhere else? Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, until we find a way to cure young college kids from not wanting to push their face in a pile of coke or take pills, we're not fixing anything. Because right now, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, Venezuela, Latin America, you guys are the problem. You guys are the one bringing all these drugs into this country. Cartels, you guys are the problem. You guys are the reason why we are losing our youth at an incredible rate. You guys are the problem. Instead of saying, wait a minute, if we took care of our household, of our country, and we started pointing fingers inwards and saying, why do our youth and our teen and our college, why do they love drugs so much? Right? Why are they willing to take pills knowing that they might end up swallowing a fentanyl pill and dying? Why are they still willing to take that risk? What are we doing wrong that is causing all these outside entities, China, Mexico, and Venezuela? Why are we causing all these people to bring us drugs, right? What's causing that? That's what we need to look at. We don't need to spread our DoD forces so thin to where we're letting, big ticket items fall through the cracks. That's what we need to focus on, not oh, we're gonna bomb a couple of boats here and there and just scare them shitless to where they don't want to drive towards our shores. That's not gonna fix the problem, guys, because all they're gonna do is find another way to get the drug in. We can try to starve the addiction teens within our country, but they're just gonna find another way to get it, right? So again, I get it, right? President Trump is bumming the crap out of people. They're shooting the crap out of people right now. But at the end of the day, guys, I don't think it's going to fix anything. I think our resources should be allocated elsewhere instead of where it's currently allocated, right? Let me know what you guys think, man. Because again, pretty interesting stuff, right? Like we are just bumming the crap out of them, right? But I can guarantee you, they're not going to say, all right, we're not going to bring drugs to America anymore. They're just going to find another way to get the drugs in. And at the end of the day, where there's poverty, there's going to be men that are willing to do anything and everything to make sure they provide for their family, to include risking life and death, right? Guys, the fight against narco smuggling is a fight against organized crime, right? At the global scale. That's why we can't just walk away. I get it, right? Even when our plate is full. However, we owe it to ourselves to also look inward and figure out what we can do back home to try to fix the issue also. If we attack it from both front at home with drug awareness and making sure that our youth stay the hell away from it, we're tackling the actual problem, right? The demand, we're tackling the demand, and then we'll also be tackling the supply chain to make sure that the issue stays dead, right? Like it's no longer a problem. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section, guys. Let's get to the next topic.
So think like military history, military tactics, all the training manuals, the field manuals, even things like Greek mythology, Roman legionnaires, Bushido code, even stuff from Jesus Christ, like good philosophers that believed in good things that shape our culture as Western civilization. But then in this data set, we have lots of military doctrine. So imagine like when you're training a young officer, you're going to have him or her read, these books of valor, these books of leadership, but also you're going to have them learn, hey, how do I run an ambush or how do I run a convoy operation? And that's all a bunch of data that you can train on to make these agents really smart in that domain. And then of course they can help you like a tutor or like an assistant.
I mean, all of that sounds great, guys, but here's the interesting thing, right? Not every leap in military history is good. Now, as great as that might sound, guys, keep in mind, every leap in military history comes with a price. When the machine gun first showed up during World War I, leaders thought it would end the war because of how deadly it was. Instead, it created trench warfare, and millions of casualties later, they realized, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, right? When drones entered the battlefield in the early 2000s, people say it would make war cleaner. Instead, it raised a new debate over civilian casualties on the battlefield. I remember vividly when we first got drones on the Special Forces teams, right? I remember getting them, and we had this drone system called the Puma, right? We got it, the 18 Echo. That was his job, to go figure out how to use that thing and go nerd out. And we had it, we looked at it, and then we threw it in a corner, right? Because we weren't at that point yet where, one, we wanted to deal with it. It's like new technology. We didn't want to learn it. We didn't want anything to do with it. So we just put it in the corner. But when we got down range later on that year, that thing was everywhere. People were flying it. Then we had this thing called a switchblade. Like we had all sorts of things, right? However, it has never gotten to the level that it is now. Now, granted, what they are discussing now is a lot more advanced than what we had back in the early 2014, 2015 timeframe. Although the ones we had back then had some advantages to them, we weren't really looking at any of that. But these right here, guys, there's some massive advantages to the drone, to the recon drone that we're discussing about here in this particular segment. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Now, imagine a Special Forces team about to enter a village. Traditionally, we rely heavily on aerial imagery, right? And of course, human scout or recons. But with AI-powered drones, you can launch a swarm that can scan the village, map every street, identify heat signatures, and flag unusual activities all within seconds. And on top of that, you as an operator, you're getting the live feed on your ATAC or whatever computer system you're using at the time, right? Like real life information. That's life changing, guys. So that's the number one advantage that I can see if they decide, or they've already decided, but that's the number one advantage that I see with going, I guess, full AI drone and full AI within the military spectrum. The second advantage that I see with this happening is going to be just reducing the risk signature as it relates to soldiers, special forces operators, infantry, whatever, going out there and conducting these missions, right? Now, granted, guys, when we sign up to join the military, we know there's a risk involved with that, right? At any given time, we can deploy, we can see combat, and Lord knows what could happen. However, now, when we decide to use drones to go on, I guess, one of the more dangerous missions out there, which is recon, now you remove the risk factor out of it, right? Commanders love that risk adverse phrase, right? So if I as a commander, I'm able to send some drones out there to, I guess, scan over an area, to survey an area, as opposed to sending a 2 or 3 or 4-man team out there, why wouldn't I? Right? Especially if the result's going to be the same, if not better. So that's the second advantage, guys, is I don't have to risk sending actual people out there to get rolled up or shot or get in firefights. I can just send some machines out there to get the information and we're good to go. Advantage number 3 is going to be real-time intelligence processing. Now, this one is huge. Drones already collect mountains of data, video feeds, image, and signal, right? The problems, humans have to get all that information, analyze it, and then put it in a report, get it to the people it needs to get to. They then get it and they figure out, hey, this is the guy we're looking for. They build a target packet and then they go execute the mission, right? That's how it's done now. Intelligence gets captured by whoever, a human being has to analyze it, right? And then it becomes actionable. And then a special forces team, we go action it. All right. Now imagine if we had AI in the picture, right? AI could figure out what's going on within seconds. It can turn it into actionable intelligence within seconds, guys. Think about that, right? Everything gets collected, it gets processed, and on the back end, you have actionable intelligence. That's what's on the line here. This one is huge, guys. We no longer need, days, weeks, and months of people just slaving over intelligence that they've gathered to figure out what's going on. With AI in the loop, it can be done within seconds. And that within itself, guys, is a game changer. Now, beyond recon, guys, think about it. If we are able to incorporate AI and robotics into the logistical chain, how would that change the battlefield, right? I remember 2003, 2007, '08 timeframe, I was a combat engineer downrange, and one of the missions that we would do there was route clearance. I would literally drive up and down this road, and I would look for IEDs, I would dispose of them, so the logistical convoy can go through and deliver logistics to all the different outposts, right? Imagine, what if we had, I don't know, drones, AI type robots that can take care of all of that stuff, right? To where we didn't have to put soldiers out there to get blown up left and right and lose limbs, etc. What if we didn't have to do that, right? Now, this is a strong possibility with AI and everything that's currently going on. In the near future, we might not have to deal with that anymore, guys. And hell, I wish it was back then when I was down there doing route clearance, but better late than never, right? So that's also a possibility with all this technology that's also coming out. And on top of that, what if we had the ability to have these AI and all this different technology repair broken down vehicles, recover vehicles, etc. Guys, the battlefield is definitely changing. Whether it's for the good or for the bad, I'll let you guys be the judge. Let me know in the comment section. Now, these are all the good things, right? What about the cons? What about all the messed up things that can possibly happen if we go down this route? Now, granted, we're already there, but let's talk about some of the risks that can possibly take place if we go full Terminator, right? So number one is going to be, keep in mind, technology fails, right? Now, when I was in the Q course going through training, they always made sure that we train with a Lazentic compass, right? We weren't allowed to have GPS on our person. We weren't allowed to use them because they wanted to make sure that we knew how to use a compass, a map, a protractor, right? Because at the end of the day, when my battery runs out or when technology fails, at least I know how to use the basic tools, right? It's the same thing within the Army. We train the basics and we train on devices that don't necessarily rely on power. Because at the end of the day, if power goes out, we need to be able to convert back to the basic. If we decide to go down this route and we're relying heavily on drone technology and we're relying heavily on AI, what happens when everything goes dark? What happens if a electromagnetic bomb goes off and now everyone is operating in the dark? Will we as a military be able to do the basics, right? Can we truly get rid of recon altogether? Or is that a skill that we still need to be able to, I guess, put into practice if the recon drones are no longer available, right? Keep that in mind, guys. Disadvantage number 2 is going to be the over-reliance on these actual machines, right? Are we going to get complacent? Are we going to get fat and out of shape? Are we going to not do the basics anymore, right? It goes hand in hand with the previous point. Are we going to become that type of force? Or is AI and robotics, is it just a tool that is going to get used to enhance our current capability? What do you guys think is going to happen? All right, last but not least, we also got to keep in mind, guys, just because we are deploying all these different technologies into the field, right? Whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, like all these places that we're currently operating, what do you think our adversaries are going to do, right? Do you think they're just going to sit back and let us do whatever we want? Or do you think they're going to do the same thing? Now, I know China is very big on copying our technologies. So if you don't think they already have recon drones and all sorts of stuff going around, you are mistaken. Because at the end of the day, if we deploy recon drones and let's say Afghanistan, Iraq, or wherever, Russia's probably doing the same thing. China's probably going to do the same thing. Iran is for sure doing the same thing. So now what happens when you have AI going against AI, right? You have American-made AI, whether that's the recon drones and the Intel processing-based AI. What happens when we deploy all this thing in the field and then Russia has their own version of this AI and this recon drone? Iran, now you have all this stuff on the battlefield and you have AI going against AI and AI is built to evolve to survive. Now what happens, right? Do we as human beings become obsolete and this becomes a Terminator scenario where the machines are taking over? I don't know, guys. It'll be pretty interesting to see how everything turns out. My perspective is pretty black and white, right? Whatever technology, whatever AI we're using should be used to enhance us. Because at the end of the day, you can't replace the human element that comes with a special forces operator, that comes with an infantryman, that comes with a, an airman. Like we need human beings on the battlefield, right? And we can use all the technology to enhance our capability, but they cannot replace us because I can step into a room, clear a corner and realize, oh, that person is unarmed and then flow past them and get to my corner, right? Yeah, we can try to program that into the robot, into the AI and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a machine. It can make mistakes, right? And when we're on the battlefield dealing with human beings, those are not the type of mistakes that need to be made. We need to maintain that control. So here's the bottom line, guys. AI-powered recon drones and autonomous support system have the potential to save lives, process intel faster than ever, and give American an unmatched advantage on the battlefield. I'm not arguing that, right? I just read an article from a retired Army captain that says his product is currently deployed with SOCOM downrange. He called it the equivalent of Jarvis from Iron Man. That's some pretty cool stuff, guys. But we have to keep in mind that they carry an enormous risk, technical, tactical, and ethical, right? And if we're going to employ these different technologies, we need to make sure that we're aware of that, right? On top of that, we need to make sure that we're ready to accept that risk. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe that once you hand a machine a role of war and you make it responsible for taking life, there's no going back from that, guys. Especially if it's an AI that's able to learn and grow and think for itself. We really got to be mindful of what we're doing here. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about this one, guys. Pretty interesting article because I want to see what the battlefield is going to look like in 20 and 30 years. And when you think about it, guys, the battlefield is going to change, right? Because if you think about how the Civil War was fought. And then you think about World War I, you think about World War II, you think about the Vietnam era, guys, you think about Iraq, you think about Afghanistan. And now this is it, right? This is it. This is what the new frontier looks like. How it's going to turn out, what role the machines will play into it, I'm eager to see how that turns out, right? All right, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. Guys, before we call it, let's go over some of these polls that I've been posting on the YouTube page. I appreciate you guys' feedback. Pretty interesting stuff on here, right? What I want to do is read through at least 3 of them, see what you guys are thinking as far as answers go, and then I'll give you guys my 2 cents, right? Let's read through some of these polls. All right, so the first question that I post on the YouTube page that you guys responded to was from a day ago. Approximately 3,000 of you guys have voted on this one. What's the hardest thing to teach? Options are discipline, integrity, courage, commitment. I'll give you guys a minute to respond. Overwhelmingly, the answer is integrity, right? That's what you guys have chosen on the YouTube page. And I agree with that one, man, because you can teach discipline. I can tell you, you wake up every morning at 4:30, you go do PT at 6:30, you show up at work at 9, and then you do it consistently. That's discipline. I can tell you, hey, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you eat. I can give you a routine that's going to help instill discipline in you. Courage, you get that because it's motivated by several different factors, whether it's money, like people get courageous at times, right? Commitment goes without saying. You can definitely commit to certain things, but integrity, that's one thing that I can't teach you, right? That's one thing that's a lot harder to teach. It's got to be modeled, right? You got to grow up within an environment, or you got to grow up within a dad. You got to grow up with a mom that preaches that reinforces that in you, right? Integrity is not something that people just are born with, right? Integrity is not something that you can just teach on a regular basis, right? It's something that you essentially have to go throughout your entire life seeing. So yeah, integrity for sure. I agree with that answer. All right, let's find another one. All right, this one's pretty interesting also. All right, the question is, which one matters most in combat? Which one matters most in combat? Is it the weapon in your hands? Is it the man to your left and to your right? Is it the plan, or is it the will to fight? Overwhelmingly, the answer here is going to be the man to your left and to your right. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, as an 18-year-old, a young man in Iraq, I didn't know anything about the politics as far as why we were there, right? I knew I signed up to be part of something greater than myself. I knew we were in country. I knew we were at war. But at the end of the day, I didn't know anything, man. I was a PFC just going through the motions. But I can tell you right now, when it got crazy, when it got wild, what kept me going was my buddy to my left and to my right. Those were my friends. Those were my brothers in arms. And I would do anything for them. Later on, 20 plus years later, we found out, hey, Iraq was, a big cover up. We went there under false pretenses. Wouldn't change anything, right? Because I had the best time of my life hanging out with my buddies to my left and to my right and slinging lead. All right, and then this last one, guys, we'll hit it up and then I'll let you guys go. Which one ruins morale the fastest? Over 5,000 of you guys have voted. Is it bad chow? Chow is just, food for folks that are not military. No AC, been there, done that, not bad. Wi-Fi, didn't have Wi-Fi in 2003 when I deployed the first time. Terrible leadership, right? Terrible leadership has the ability to destroy morale, especially if you have leaders that don't care about the men. You don't have leaders that put your needs first, right? That can really ruin a platoon, a company, a battalion, an entire division, right? So leadership goes a long way, especially in a place like the Army, right? Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys let me know what you think as far as your answers to these particular questions, right? Until next time, folks, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys get any value of this, share, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.